This one says we're live. Try this again.
And
We are living. Done is better than perfect. I'm refreshed. There we are. We're live again.
Woohoo!
Back in the Zoom room, man. Back Facebook. Good. So, all right. Groovy. It says live on Facebook. So interesting. All right. We just started and it kicked us off. You know, I mean, this is life in the internet lane, right? As we're talking about the market shifts us, Alexa hears this. So she's like, don't tell them.
Don't tell them.
Like, keep it a secret. So, interestingly, when I started to go live the first time, Facebook had asked, do you want to try a new platform? And I was like, let's give it a try. Don't try the new platform, guys. That's the message. Don't try the new platform. So let's kind of recap a little bit about what we were talking about without starting from the full top again. But you're a word wizard when it comes to online sales, and that's just not product sales. That's everyone using the internet for business. Hi guys, we're all on online sales. We're all
totally.
Yeah. So your genius is taking the written word and getting into, moving people along to a profitable call to action.
Right. Yeah. Because see, what I do, I like to think of it as the steps before what you do, right?
Yeah.
What we're doing is like getting people's attention and saying, hey, come into my world. I'm worth listening to. But we have to put those rocks in the river or else they're never going to get across for you to have the sales conversation, right?
Exactly.
So you've got to be able to lead people to the sales conversation, or you're never going to have the opportunity to have the sales conversation. So
exactly. And I can teach you how to have the best sales conversation in the world, but if you have no one to talk to, what's the point?
Right. And there's different ways, right? There's different ways to get people to talk to. What I do is more like inbound marketing.
Yeah.
Which is nice when it works because then they're coming to you, right?
Exactly. But that's a lot of what you started to notice, and where we came together last year was really looking at, this shift in the market that we're talking about today. The market has, and like where we got cut off was, over the past, if you've been in business for at least 3 years, definitely 5. In the online space with it, that's like saying if you're in business and in the yellow pages, like obviously, like that's what today is. So if you're in business and you're conscious and cognizant of the online space, you've definitely noticed this shift over the past 3 to 5 years, which is, I'll talk about my lens and then you jump in with yours, which are so, paralleled. That, over the past 3 to 5 years, there was so much of, put it out there and people will come into it because there was still a newness to all of it. So there was a little bit of that curiosity factor. Emails were really cool and really opened strongly all the time. And like, what is this social internet kind of thing that we're doing, right? It was all still really in its absolute infancy. And not to say that it's still not, but the consumer behaviors were very different. Now, there is such a visceral reaction. We see this a lot with the training that I'm doing in conversations. There's that immediate visceral reaction. When you reach out to someone and engage in conversation, they're ready to go anticipating sales.
Right.
They know a sales pitch is coming at them. Even 100% of what I teach is the opposite of that. But the consumer shift has been, it was all fun and games a couple of years ago online. And if you put it out there, they'd respond to it. And now the shift is everyone knows a pitch is coming.
Yeah. And I think that's true, like in every medium that we're using. So like I was watching a replay of a webinar yesterday that I really wanted to watch. And I found myself skipping forward because I knew the format she was using. And I was like, she's going to talk about this. She's going to do all these pain points for 15 minutes. And then we're going to get to the meat. So I'm just going to jump ahead.
Exactly. It's become so cookie cutter, and the formulas worked when the formulas worked.
Right. And they did. Like, we're not throwing shade. Like, this stuff worked back in the day, but it's gotten so oversaturated that, especially in the B2B market, I think there's still a little bit of opportunity in the B2C market for some of these things because they haven't been used to death.
Correct.
But you just have to kind of feel out your own market. But yeah, you were talking about like, I call it the field of dreams problem. People think that they're going to write a blog and that if they build it, people, they will come. Well, that might have been true in like 2005.
Right.
But not anymore.
It's like, oh, it was either you're a weird, like I love Michelle Wolf, the comedian, talks about like, you know, first it started with manifestos, then it went into blogs, and it was, you know, but it was like, oh, somebody has put their opinion online, let's see it.
Right.
And now we're in such saturation where stop with the public journaling.
Like nobody cares.
But now here's the shift, right? So nobody cares. So does that mean you stop putting out content? Does that mean you stop talking to people? No.
Right.
What does it mean? Jump out of bushes and try to capture people in sacks and be like, give me all your money? Like that's illegal and weird and creepy. Don't do that. But like, so what's the in between? And this is where we started, you know, I started getting into your business and kind of looking at marketing and understanding more about what you know. And that's really where, you know, a big shift was born, and realizing that exactly like we're saying, it's not that the formulas don't work it's not that the formulas were bad or didn't work. It's that they don't work anymore.
Right. And we have to shift the way we're looking at it. And, you know, part of what you helped me distill in our day together was that like, my message isn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. It's more like, let's look at all these pieces. We have all these different tactics we could try that have worked in the past. How do we put them together in something new that will get attention, that will speak to our exact people, right? Because we were talking about like all of my clients, and I know a lot of your clients are leaders in their space. Like they're thought leaders, they're seen as the go-to person. So why are they following a cookie cutter with their marketing? Yes. Right? Or with their sales? Why are they following a cookie cutter?
Because they believe that they're leaders in their space.
Right.
But not leaders in business.
And we gotta throw that out, because we all have to be leaders in our own businesses and show how it's done. You know what I mean? Like you can't just, I think too, we all want an easy button, right? We want to think if I pay my $5,000 for this course, that's going to give me this blueprint, it'll just work and it'll become a cash machine.
Right.
And unless and until somebody comes up with something brand new, that's not how that's working right now.
And we're in where we are right now is in this beautiful cocoon, like a melding pot of honest fucking God. The leaders don't even the leaders are reinventing right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we've become so accustomed to the metrics that used to matter 5 years ago, which are the front end metrics, how many followers, how many likes, how many comments.
Yep, traffic, all that
exactly. And it's not to say that there's not still a place for those, but those are not the metrics that move you to money.
Right.
It's not
the vanity metrics. Vanity make us feel fancy because we've got our 10,000 on Instagram, so we get the swipe up or whatever. But like, that's not actually necessarily what's going to translate to dollars in your bank account.
Correct. And that is how we're quantifying this huge marketing shift, this huge consumer behavior shift, is that the vanity metrics that we've all become so accustomed to chasing after don't mean shit anymore.
Right. And the thing is, like, you and I could go buy 10,000 followers right now. Like if we could write the check, we could buy and no problem. But that doesn't mean it's going to convert if our content, if our conversations are not there, right? Because what the shift I'm seeing, and I think this is exactly why your conversation creation challenge works so well, is a pull back to less automation, less DIY, less hands off, and more like, let's actually get in contact. Let's have a personal conversation. Let's get in a room together. Let's have a live component to your course. Let's have a in-person component to your course, whatever that looks like. because people are hungry for that. We're sick of the like, you bought my course, great, see ya, never talk to you again kind of
Yeah,
deal.
I'm going to drip on you via email twice a day for the next 5 to 7 days. And then
Right.
you won't hear from me again because
Because it's done.
yeah,
The
because it's done.
automation's done. It
Yep.
wasn't a real person.
That's the shift. That is the marketing shift 100%.
Yeah.
You know, that it's not, we don't respond to that anymore. And exactly to your point, and this is why you're the genius in this, that, you know, in the B2B lane, we're so conditioned. You might still have some luck with some remnants in the B2C world, but it's only a matter of time before they catch on too. And then what?
Right.
And then that's your whole marketing strategy, is to do little, you know, so
Right.
where we are now is, how do you then, so what's the solve, right? How do you market where in a shifting model where the formula isn't yet defined? What was the example I was just giving? Because I'm in a transition myself, and moving a lot of pieces around, and I don't talk about things on the outside as I'm going through them, but there's a lot of moving pieces right now. And the example I gave is like, I have all the ingredients. I haven't yet put the dough together. We will have dinner tonight. I just don't fully know what that's going to look like.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are within this internet space. So like,
yeah. And I think the key is that like, we could have the same ingredients and come up with something totally different, and probably should, right? Because your business is different from my business. So if we're talking about the ingredients being how we're going to market or how we're going to sell or whatever, like we can combine them in very different ways to get the results we want. I mean, the example I've been using of this is I was helping a client with a launch in Q4 last year. And she started out wanting to do sort of the 3 video launch, you know, you watch your 3 videos and then you get an invitation to a webinar and then you get sold on the webinar. And we were talking it through, and like her clients are time starved. Like that's one of their big things, is they don't have time for anything. I'm like, nobody's going to sit through 3 45-minute videos that you drip out over a week. Like you're going to get so much drop off.
Yes.
So instead we took the same idea, but instead of doing those like sort of longer form videos, that's the formula. I'm not going to name names, but
yep.
been on for a long time.
Yep.
Instead we did 5-minute videos that she dripped it out. Like she launched one every day, but they were all available. So if somebody wanted to sit there and binge for 25 minutes, they could, but otherwise they'd get reminded for 5 days. And the challenge that they had to do, all the information fit on a Post-it note. Beautiful. So we were like condensing it because we knew that's who her clients were. And she had her most profitable launch ever, multi 6 figures. Her freaking webinar converted at something like 26.5%. Like it was insane. Yeah.
Holy shit.
It was insane.
But that's the difference right now, is that, you know, there is such opportunity for everyone who's watching this and everyone who's catching the recording. There is such opportunity right now to not only position yourself as an influencer, leader, and authority within a specific thing that you do, green juices or selling pants or whatever. And you've got a story about a client, you know, selling pants, and that business was transformed. But whatever the thing is that you're moving from here to the person with money in between, you've got such an amazing, we're at a point in history right now where everything is shifting. So not only do you have an opportunity to be the dominant influencer and leader in that category, but to also create what could potentially be the next formula.
Right. And the thing is, like, you don't have to be a master marketer to figure this out. Like, I always think about, did you ever read the book Blue Ocean Strategy?
I haven't yet. It's on my list.
I like it, but I mean, the idea is very simple. Like if everybody's zigging, you zag, right? You look for where's the wide open ocean that you can take. And the same is true with marketing and content. I mean, I think the book is written with like business ideas in mind, but when you look at like what's everybody else and their dog doing with content, you can zag, you can do the opposite. So like if everybody's starting a podcast, why don't you go back to writing long form articles instead? Or if everybody, whatever, like I was talking to somebody yesterday and she said, everybody's putting out podcasts for free. I'm putting one behind a gate. It's not paid, but you have to sign up. You have to give me your email address in order to get my podcast. I was like, that's actually really smart because it makes her feel different and it makes her people feel VIP and special and excited, right? So she's doing that sort of zig
Yeah.
they zig, you zag. It's the same sort of thing. Like, how can we stand out in this incredibly noisy marketplace?
Yep. I mean, I've been saying for years now, the inbox has become so saturated, but the mailbox is virtually empty.
Can I show you? I have my little Kate Spade cards right here because
Love
I
it.
was just sending a thank you note to a new client because
Beautiful.
they're like shocked. They're shocked when I send a physical thank you note to people
Yeah.
because nobody does that.
And what does it take you?
30
5,
seconds and a
30
stamp.
seconds.
You know
You're
what I mean? Like I write 2
5 minutes.
lines.
I'm a copywriter. It's what I do.
I write 2. I don't even write very much. I'm like, thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your success. I'm so excited. Love, Lacy. The end.
Brilliant.
That's it.
That's it. But yeah, the inbox is so saturated, the mailbox is not. But I want to, and you talked about this, you did an incredible webinar. You're going to have more coming up. But you talked about it in the webinar about the marketing trends over the past X number of years. And there's the one in particular shift in the market where I think you called it permission marketing when that started to shift. Talk about that for a minute, because what we're talking about is nothing new.
No.
It's just that the nuances of how to navigate it have
changed.
shifted. But identifying consumer buying patterns, the shift in that is nothing new. I have to turn off my heater real quick before I melt here. But I'm like sweating to death underneath. But what we're talking about is nothing new. So talk about when, you know, the time in history that we can all remember when this had shifted before.
Yeah. So permission marketing was actually coined by Seth Godin, and he coined it in his first book, and that was in 1999, and it was so revolutionary that he actually got kicked out of a marketing association, because what he was saying is we should ask for people's permission to market to them, and the marketing association went, "Whoa, buddy, no, thank you."
Because what was done up until this point?
That was all blast advertising, right? So this was your billboards, your TV ads, your radio ads, your direct mail, where you haven't asked, and the worst was like phone calls, right? Spam phone calls.
Telemarketing.
So telemarketing, and you didn't ask for any of that. You didn't want to be on the list for people to call you about your whatever air conditioner repair or whatever. So Seth Godin's idea
about the warranty.
Right? Seth Godin's idea was to flip it and say, why don't we ask people to opt in, which is where the whole idea of the email marketing opt-in came from. And so we're actually getting even more sad about that. Like, people are done with display ads. Ad blockers are gaining in popularity all the time.
Pop-ups are done.
Pop-ups are done, unless it's a polite pop-up, like that comes when they're leaving or something like that. That could still work. But like Google slammed pop-ups a while back. And then like even Facebook ads and stuff, people are like, meh, I don't look at them. I don't notice them. I have a thing that takes them out of my feed, right? So think about like, especially if your business relies on that kind of advertising, what would happen if that changed, if that crashed, if the algorithm no longer, or if it got prohibitively expensive. I think the difference is like with inbound marketing, you're giving people the opportunity to say, yes, I want to hear more from you. Whether that's giving your email address, or like the newer things are like, yes, you can talk to me on a chat bot or in a DM. Yes, I'll get on a phone call with you, like through LinkedIn or wherever the conversation is happening. But they're giving permission because what you're giving out is so valuable.
Right.
Right.
And this is what we know. Like, there might be people listening to this like, yeah, this is what you do, like, obviously. But listen to what Lacy's saying, that Seth Godin was kicked out of the marketing association for this idea because it was so different. But he had identified what we're doing isn't working anymore. There's a shift, and I think this could be it. And he could have been wrong, right? It could be something else right now, but he happened to be right. And I'm sure that there were a lot of other people that had ideas, but you know, that idea stuck. And that's what we're saying is happening right now. The shift is that this, you know, saturation and getting stuff out there for the sake of, and you know, here, look at this, even though you've opted in, here, look at this, and
you're done.
Like the 45-minute, you know, 3 series might work for some people, but here's the only thing that matters. If it's not working for you, it's not fucking working.
Right. And it's not necessarily your fault that formula is not every formula works for every business every time. And so
Exactly.
we have to look at what works for you, and how
Yeah.
do we find that and what works for you. And sometimes that's a little bit of trial and error, but I have, ways to look at what's happening in your world to give
Quickly.
you a sort of better, at least a better chance of getting a better result,
Because we
because
can't see it. I
right.
can't see where I'm even flawed in my own whatever. You can't,
Sure.
we can't see our own faces, right? So you're Denver based, but you're coming to New York, which I'm so excited about, and I'm like so hoping I can be there. But
Yeah.
you're coming to New York in on March 23rd, and you've got an incredible opportunity for a very intimate group, hand selected intimate group of individuals to come in, where you're going to help co-create their unique,
Plan.
like, this isn't like, here's the new formula, guys, just kidding, this is secretly it. Like, no, you could have 10 different people in the room, all with 10 different businesses, all walking away with individual
With
marketing
10 different plans. Exactly.
Exactly. But
Which
that's
is why I have to keep it small. But
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
But yeah, that's exactly what happens. We're calling it CIA and NYC because CIA is my course. It's called Content Intelligence Academy. And it's basically a one-day workshop up front where we sit in a room together. This is the first time I'm actually doing it in person live. Like, we usually do it like this on Zoom,
I
but
love
I'm
it.
actually going to be in the room where it happens. And we're going to create your marketing plan, your leadership marketing plan for the next 90 to 180 or so days. So basically you get your next quarter planned out. I mean, down to what blog am I writing, or what email am I sending each week? What podcast episode am I doing in a day? We get it done. So if
Yeah.
you're a procrastinator, this is for you. And then you get 90 days of support on the back end through a Facebook group where I'm there to help you actually implement it. Because what I found in the past, I used to do just the one day standalone, and then people would be so gung ho, and then they'd get home and never implement it, right?
Yep.
And so now I have 90 days of support. So it's like when you hit the wall, when you're like, I thought I wanted to write this blog post, but now I'm not sure, you can ask questions. I'm there to support. I'm there to help coach people through it, because it happens, right?
Yeah. Because here's the thing, content is not going to go away.
Oh.
Conversations are not going to go away. So it's not that we're sitting here talking out of both sides of our mouth where we're saying things have shifted,
right.
No more blogging, it's just that, and I love it's a take on one of your phrases where you say, writing and disappearing ink, but it really is, if you're blogging right now, if you're doing social right now, if you're getting emails and content out there, I really say it's invisible ink because nobody's seeing it, right? But I love the disappearing ink because you're writing it and then it goes away, nobody sees it.
Yeah.
So it's not about that content is no longer a thing. Just like when we did the big shift into internet marketing, everyone thought the sales calls went away. Well, how's that working for you? Sorry.
No, not so much.
Not so much. If anything, the need for human connection and interaction has increased tenfold. So it's not at all that we're talking out of both sides of our mouths. What we're saying is really precisely that the need for specificity within the messaging.
Yeah. You got to have a plan.
It's stronger now more than ever. Like, and let's look at the numbers of the business, right? I mean, I teach to my clients, really who are getting started or repivoting their business. How do we get your first 10 clients? And how do we get those first 10 clients? Typically it's 5,000 for 90 days when you're in a pivot. 5,000 for 90 days is your first package. You need 2 of those a month to sustain the entrepreneurial minimum wage. So we're looking at not how do we reposition you to get a bazillion clients. You don't need a bazillion clients. And by the way, you can't get a bazillion if you can't get one.
Right.
So,
and the thing is, like, the content, a lot of times it's difficult. I had a potential client, she actually signed, yay. Last week on a sales call, say I was the first and only marketing or content person she had talked to that talked about ROI. Because in my world, ROI can be tricky to measure because you don't put a buy now button on a blog post, right?
Right. Or you should not be doing it. Let's just say that.
Unless you're selling a $4 widget, and then we can talk. But like if you're selling a coaching package or whatever, And so like it can be difficult to track directly from a blog post or even an email. Email's a little easier, but and so what I was telling her was like, we need to figure out what's a great metric for you. And then how do we put that back into our plan? So for example, if her
Brilliant.
metric is, I know that if I get 5 sales calls, I'll close 3 deals or whatever. And I'll say, great. Then we put a distinct link in your blog post for sales calls. And then we can track how many people clicked that link to get on a sales call. And then if I can say, well, I got you 4 last month and you got 2, then I'm doing my job, right? So
Perfect.
blog posts, like a lot of times we think it's traffic, like you were talking about, or it's Facebook likes, or it's comments on the blog or whatever. No, vanity metrics. We have to figure out what the metric is for your business. And then we can track the ROI. And guess what? Blog posts work when you're doing them right.
Correct.
Emails work when you're doing them right. Podcasts work when you're doing them right.
Right. And the nuances are in the language. And this is what I teach from a sales perspective, that the words, the order, all of that does matter in a conversation lens. And you're doing it with such more permanence.
Right.
It's a written word. And the benefit of the written word that outlasts maybe a sales conversation is that you have a one-on-one sales conversation, and that's great. And I work with you and help you on that. But you write a blog post once, and the first day it's seen by 5 people and your mom, and then the second day, whatever. And then it sits there over time.
Right.
And every blog that you're writing contributes to that one. And that first one that you wrote could be the one 2 years from now.
Right. It's a long game. Content is a long game. But when you're doing it well, it can become your 24/7 salesperson, at least doing that initial outreach, right? It may not be closing the deal, but your content, your blog, your LinkedIn, whatever it is that you're putting content on can be your 24/7 person.
Yeah. And it really, if it's not doing that, it's public journaling.
Right. And if it's not doing that, you're wasting your time.
Yes.
And that's your effort and your money.
Visible link. Like it just, right. What is the point? We do not need more content. People want to read something and they want to see themselves in it.
We need better, not more. We need quality over quantity. And you have to get so specific that it was like we were talking about the 10,000 fans or whatever. You don't need 10,000 fans. No. You need maybe 1,000 people that love you and read everything you write and will buy from you, period. Yes. Like that's it.
Really, I would say there's that quote out there that's, if you give me, 6 hours to cut down a tree, I'll sharpen myself for 5 of them or whatever it is.
Yeah.
The shift that we're talking about is really that it used to be more yes. Notice, more content, more whatever, just say something to get them to notice you. And the shift is really less, but better.
Yes. 110%.
Yep.
When I started blogging, the general advice out there was you should write at least 3 blogs a day. Can you imagine? Like, can you even imagine? That's how we got here, people. That's how we got here.
Whoa, the pendulum has shifted. Whoa.
Yeah. And now I tell people, like, at minimum, 1 high quality post a month you can get away with. Yep. Any less than that, people forget about you. But 1 high quality post that you're promoting well every month, you're golden. That's fine. I would rather have you write 1 quality than 50 crappy ones.
Yes. Yes. I was talking to a marketing agency who will remain nameless, but I'm going to throw them under the bus because I just was feeling this visceral reaction to like, I'm not feeling this is going to be a fit. But so much of what they say is that they're creating really valuable content and that's what they teach their clients to do. But then when I got inside the conversations and started hearing, well, why am I part of these conversations? Like there's clearly a sales disconnect or something. And what they're feeling is a lot of resistance from the clients who buy in to say, yep, we know we have to do inbound. We totally get that. They buy in, but then they're resistant to the execution because it's exactly what you're talking about. Just fucking say something. Just get the copy out there. We've got our formula of the categories that you need to write in, but it's like so masculine, and pardon my crudeness on this, but it's basically like they're doing like the blog version of a dick pic. Like, it's like, I just wanted to show you this. I thought you'd care. And it's like, no, it's not specific. I mean, you're on the phone long enough, I'm going to like take it somewhere really inappropriate.
It's all, you're right. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
Like,
And this is a huge marketing company that's doing millions of dollars, but I'm just hearing the resistance that their clients are having to their
Yeah,
approach. And I'm thinking as I'm talking to all men, but I'm hearing this resistance and I'm like, y'all don't get it at all.
right.
And they're not, they're right.
Right.
Their customers are wrong.
Well, and one,
Sure.
early in my journey when I was starting out, I called myself a ghost blogger because that was my original like offering, was that we would blog for you. And we still do that, but we do more things now. And there was a company that came out at the time, again, which will remain nameless, but they were like undercutting I don't think they knew I existed, but they were undercutting my prices in a big, big way. And I found out the only way they were able to do that is because they paid their writers really poorly. And do you know what happens when you pay a writer really poorly? They write crap. They do it as fast as they can because they have to write as many posts as they possibly can to make a living. And so you're getting like really poor. You might be getting, sure, you're getting 4 posts a month for $89 or whatever it was,
Please.
but they're going to be crap. And
Yeah.
they went out of business because you can't, like, they were trying to scale content, and content doesn't scale. It's just like conversations
Yes.
don't scale in that way.
It's the subprime mortgage crisis.
Yeah, you can't
the
scale your
market.
content in that way.
No.
There are other ways you can get it out there in a bunch of different, you know what I'm saying? There's other ways we can scale content. That's not it.
No. And right now, I think a big disruptor that you and I really agree on is that right now necessarily is not the time to scale.
Totally.
We're in such a pivot point that right now is actually an opportunity to narrow in and get it right at a much deeper level. And that doesn't mean that scaling can't happen. It just means that now is the time to really narrow and listen, and to do so with your lens, because you know what to listen and look for. I don't even know why would I know? I focus on conversations, not the written content, but I wouldn't know all the nuances of the metrics. Just give us like an example of like a nuanced metric that like, what does that look like?
Yeah. So for example, you might be focused on, here's a great one. I have several people who are focusing on Facebook groups as a lead driver right now.
Yeah.
So what do you need in Facebook groups? You have to have engagement.
Yes.
You have to have click through, right?
Yep.
You have to have, so we want to look at engagement. Are the posts engaging? Are people having conversations? Are they liking in that scenario? But we also have to look through, are they taking action? Because like you could have the most popular group on Facebook. You could have thousands of people that like and comment and do all, but if you're not making any sales, it's not any good, right?
Right.
So we also have to look at like, are they clicking on the links? Are they getting on the call? Is this working to drive? Because this is another one of those, who will remain nameless, big things that people buy into the course.
Yeah.
And the Facebook group is supposed to lead to the webinar, is supposed to lead to the sales call, is supposed to lead to the, right?
Yep.
That's great if it works for your people. Right.
Theoretically.
If your people don't click the link, it's not working and it's not good for you.
Yeah. And then how in real time do you go back to look at, whatever shift that is, and how do you in real time, if you're in the middle of a launch, and this is what you support a lot of your clients with, like the example you were sharing where the woman had that, what did you say, 26% conversion, which is like crazy high, by the way.
Yeah.
Like insane high. If you don't know, if you're left on your own because you did the DIY or you've been following the book or the podcast and this is what the formula says, and then you execute it even flawlessly, but it still didn't work for you, like then what? I know what the then what is. You know what the then what is? It didn't work. On to the next.
Right. As opposed to, let's look at this. Let's figure out which part didn't work, which piece wasn't right.
Right. Where in the chain was there a point or 2 points of disconnect? Where did everything work right? Where are the nuances of where? And it could be so simple as maybe, and this is me trying to put a marketing hat on, but maybe the call to action was below the scroll and you lost them because your audience has the attention span of a fly and you know that about them.
It could be like the backside of that 26% conversion rate is that when they looked at the numbers, when we did our debrief and dug in, we found that the people who did convert were super hot leads. Like they had been following her for a long time. Mm-hmm. And the people who had just come in through Facebook ads didn't convert, which was a fascinating thing because that showed us we have to step it back. If we're going to run ads, we have to do it weeks ahead of time so that we can warm them up with content so they become hot leads, so they convert on the webinar, right? The webinar worked really well for people who are already in your space.
Brilliant. Which is where creating content, producing content on a consistent basis, that is your sales pitch going out there. Not that it all needs to be sales pitch. You should not be pitching.
No, but it's all part of the conversation,
Part
right?
of?
Don't ask me to get married on the first date.
Nope.
You gotta warm me up. You gotta wine me and dine me a little bit.
I don't know. I'm almost 40 at some point, and it's like, maybe you could, and I'd say yes. I don't know. Fine, but I digress.
No, but like that's what the content is, the whining and dining. The content is the whining and dining, and then when you get on the sales call or the sales page or whatever your process looks like, that's when you get down on one knee and ask them to make a commitment.
Right. When like very few, and probably some stupid dudes do this, but like you don't really ask the question if you don't know what the answer is going to be. Right. You don't make the big proposal if you're not like certain it's going to be a yes. And it's the same thing within marketing. Like you don't ask if you're not sure. Like you have to know it's at this point that they will. Now, sure, you do need to test and all of that, but what you're saying is you have to reverse engineer it, and then it's a long game.
100%.
But to know what you're going to help them do within this one day, and then supporting them through basically the entirety of the second quarter, is to say, let's map out based on the metrics that you've given me, the information about your business and industry, and specifics about
what you want to sell.
Let's look at all the things. What is going to be the right approach for you for the next 90 days? Let me support you as we measure, monitor, and adjust it. Mm-hmm. And then if you want to continue, then they continue. And if they don't, they know now how to look at
exactly.
That's the biggest thing.
I've given them the skill. Hope that's the goal, right? Is that you get the skill to figure it out on your own and say like, okay, that worked, but not quite as well. So I'm going to tweak it a little bit for the next 90 days. And then, to see how to make it work. But we do offer continuing support. If they want to stay with me, that's cool. I would love it. But I also want to teach them to fish, right?
Right. And that's, and the teaching to fish is, what are instead of the vanity metrics that I thought I had to go after, what are the mini metrics that I need to look at that actually move the needle? Because guys, if you're having I'm going to look at it through my lens. If you're having 3 sales calls and you're closing one of them, let's have a conversation, because that mini metric of knowing how to close one more sales call could be the game changer in your life and your business. It's a mini.
My life changed when I figured out I didn't have to put so much pressure on the call, on the sale, when I could look at other metrics to say like, okay, well, if I'm closing at 50% right now, that is what it is. But that just means I need X number of calls to fill when I could focus on a different metric, my life changed, because I used to put all my stress on, I have to close this call, this particular, even if it wasn't a good fit. Right. Mm-hmm. I couldn't say no because I was afraid if I didn't close the call. But when I stepped back and was like, no, I can look at a different mini metric of success here.
Yes.
Like how many calls am I booking, or how many inquiries am I getting, or whatever it is.
Reverse engineer up the food chain.
Exactly.
Where are they coming from? And then if you're getting a bunch of bad prospects, then it's reverse engineering up to see.
Right. I'm not qualifying them well with my content or with my application or whatever it is.
You can streamline and have such a successful inbound flow, and then I'll come in and help you close. But you can streamline to have such a successful inbound flow, because people are consuming content.
That's not changing.
Right.
We're addicted to our phones.
Binge content. So it's actually not to say that having more content is bad. Having content is good. And we're now trained to not only consume, but to binge content. So having content on multiple platforms, very necessary. But that does not mean that you have to be on all of them. You have to be on the ones that are right for you and your customer. That's all that matters. And that's what Lacy's going to help you do. Mic drop. Pen drop.
I also want to say though, like what I have learned over the last year and through working with you and some other things is that like I need a combination. And I think most businesses need a combination of inbound and outbound, right?
Correct.
So like for me, it's not so much reaching out and cold calling, but finding more referral partners. And I'm cold calling referral partners, because that's how my business is going to grow. And it, you know, it's my own lesson. Like, just because I'm blogging, just because I'm writing great shit doesn't mean that I'm going to get exactly what I need to get. I have to do both. And it's like a balancing act.
Yeah. And we talked about the give basket as one strategy that I teach, and we talked about within our strategy day together. So the particulars of how we work together, we did a strategy day together, and then I supported you for a duration of time after that, just like you said, to implement what needs to shift, how do we, et cetera.
Right.
But one of the strategies we talked about is the give basket. And that was before we started going live, the first live, live 1.1, was you talking about one of the strategies. So expand a little bit on that.
Yeah. So I put together an Airtable for myself where I have a list of people I've contacted or that I would like to contact. And then I made like a Trello board, right? A Kanban board where I said, okay, I think I have 8 or 9 different things I could do. Like, I could connect with them on social media. I could ask them for a call. Like, do you want to get on a 15-minute call? I could send them a referral. I could send them an article, content. That has actually worked exceptionally well for me recently. I say like, oh, I wrote this article. Maybe your audience would be interested in it too. And then they read it and then they share it. And that's really great. So I just have these different things. So I keep reaching out and touching people. And then one thing I did, I decided I'm probably going to do this once a quarter, is I wrote a little email that just said like, hey, you were kind enough in the past to say that you would send me business when it came along. I thought I would tell you exactly what I have openings for right now and who I'm looking for. Brilliant. And I even said in the email, like, if you find this off-putting, just say so. We'll still be friends. I won't send you any more. But I've actually gotten people writing back saying, this is brilliant and I should be doing it myself, kind of deal. And I started this 2 weeks ago. I've got a referral for a client already. So like,
brilliant.
I haven't even sent out that many, but it's gotten a good response. And I know that it's that part of the thing is a numbers game. My personal thing is that my tendency is to stop. Like, I'll send out 4 and then be like, okay, good job, Lacy, you're done.
Yay.
And that's not okay, right? Like, I have to keep going.
Oh, consistency is so hard, but it's the thing.
Right. So I have a goal of getting 50 good, warm referral leads in my give basket that I can say, I've had a conversation with these people. They said, yes, I would love to send you business. And then I can just keep reaching out and saying, hey, hey, but not in a desperate way, just in a like, let me remind you that I exist sort of way.
So what are some of the parameters around these people? You know them, you've had conversations with them,
right?
You might have even connected in the flesh at some point. Like,
right.
You know, these aren't like just social connections that you've collected over time, like conversation creation challenge style. You get to know a person,
right?
Establish a relationship, and then you can come in for the ask. Yes. Brilliant, exactly. Brilliant. Oh my God. I want to go back and listen to this.
I know we dropped some good knowledge here.
We did. Well, I mean, listen, that's what we do. We talk about the things because everyone's in their lane of genius, and we're, in ours.
We're right next to each other though. Like, we really merge at some point.
Very, very beautifully. Yes. I love this. So what are we forgetting to talk about? So we'll drop in the links where they can contact you and what that is. Yeah. What would you say is the best way for them? I mean, obviously, you're here so they can DM you and that
totally.
Sort of thing.
Yeah, if you're interested in the workshop in New York City, it's on March 23rd. You can send me a DM, or we'll pop the link in for the sales page so you can get all the details. But just go to lacyboggs.com if you want to connect with me, yes. Opt in, give me permission to market to you, and then we'll have a conversation.
Yes. And you'll see that it's specific, and you'll know if you're in the right space or not. Like, I'm not for everyone. You're not for everyone.
No, and that's okay.
Yeah. So I'm toying with, for my upcoming talk, excuse me, ma'am, your wage gap is showing, is really understanding the differences between like confidence and self-esteem. And like, confidence says, I'm great. I'm the best at this thing that I do for the people that I'm the best at doing it for. Mm-hmm. That's confidence. 100%. Self-esteem just says I am. And that's something I'm working on. Like, just I am. But anyways,
and that's enough, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, well, finish the sentence. I am not. Yeah. But anyways,
right.
The confidence that you and I have is that you are hands down the best, most brilliant strategist, content creator, etc., for the people that you're best for.
It's totally true.
Specifically, that's people who are embracing that they're in an internet space, embracing that they want to sell specifically to a specific audience. They already understand. You don't want to preach to the unconverted. You don't want to say perhaps selling to everyone is selling nothing at all.
Right. No.
Have you considered when you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one?
Right.
Like those aren't your people.
Right.
You know? But I just really want to help women in transition who,
Oh God. I want to build a community of women. I hear that all the time. I want to build a community of heart-centered women, and that's it. And I'm like, well, what are you going to sell?
What do you search for that on LinkedIn? The
Right.
question I always ask is like, if you have to give that to a researcher to pull you a names list,
Yeah.
what's going in that spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's not, this is where we started off saying, like, if you've been in business 3 to 5 years, you've identified the trend, you've seen it, you've put some money in along the way in Facebook ads or marketing or launches or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're doing well, but you're not, you can do better. And you might even have an awareness enough to know that some of your numbers are shifting. This is like, see how specific we got in identifying your person? There are probably people out there like, can you identify that for me? Like, yeah, they need to
Yeah.
come to your freaking workshop, man. And it's not just that it's a workshop. It's a second quarter marketing
Second quarter support.
that
Yeah.
kicks off with a
With a
live.
cool in-person, I feel
Exactly.
fancy in Midtown Manhattan.
I love it. It's so fancy. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, I'm so glad that we got to play
Me too.
together.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap it up, and then you and I will keep kind of chatting away, so you guys get to
Okay.
miss out on that. All right, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Let me see. How do I stop the live?